Having some issues? Lauren will help you out with the assistance of our listeners. Let's do it. Get at Lauren.
It is the Y107 Morning Show. Cosmo and Lauren are at Lauren today. She's going through a tough time. Her friend died just 2 weeks ago. Her friend was friends with a guy who now our adder is having some feelings for, but she's not sure. Do I go for it?
Yeah. And to be clear, too, right, that the guy was never involved?
Never romantically involved.
With the girl that passed?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That changes a lot.
It totally does.
Right. Text line 800-500-Y107 to get at Lauren. Amanda in Moberly says, be friends. She's grieving and needs support. It's not a good time to get into a relationship, especially if he has been involved with other friends.
Okay.
Because there was another friend that was involved.
Yes.
And now those two don't talk. And now then that friendship could be, I don't know. It's always an interesting time when there's dating and there's friends and other friends involved.
Yeah. We also got a message from someone who has been through not the exact same situation, but similar. She said, don't overthink it. Let fate take it. Grief is a hard one when dating, so tread carefully for your own heart, but go with the flow. This person did date the friend of the deceased. Mm-hmm. And she said, dating him changed my life in a magical way. It was a hard one to let go of for both of us, but I wouldn't be half the person I am having not taken a leap of faith.
Wow. Okay. This is a heavier one. We know.
Absolutely.
But, you have a loss of a friend, you're mourning. Mm-hmm. How quickly or what, you've got to be cautious of where your feelings are right now because there's a lot of other factors bouncing around here.
Yeah. And I don't know how you would navigate this 2 weeks after your best friend died.
Right. Yeah. So get at Lauren, 441-Y107 or text 800-500-Y107.
Let's do it. Get at Lauren.
It's the Y107 Morning Show. We are Cosmo and Lauren. Our adder today, unfortunately, her best friend passed away just 2 weeks ago. She had another friend, a man, who our adder is now kind of romantically interested in. They've been helping each other get through it, spending a lot of time together, and she is starting to catch some feelings.
Right.
But she feels weird about it, of course, and isn't really sure what to do.
And this guy was never involved romantically with this friend that passed. And she's asking us. We've gotten a lot of great texts, and we need some calls to it. 441-Y107. Your advice, what do you think?
We've got Sam on the phone in Columbia. Sam, what do you think?
So after my grandma died, I read a book on grief and loss, and it said not to make any major decisions for 1 year after the trauma. Mm-hmm. I really think she should keep hanging out with him, keep being there for each other, but maybe not jump into something romantic for a year at least. That's just my opinion because it makes sense. You need to give yourself time to heal and kind of process what happened. Even though he never dated her friend, they're both experiencing this loss.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they jump in it too soon, it's kind of doomed from the start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Or maybe not necessarily doomed, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
you're
it's not a good foundation.
Yeah, exactly. The foundation, that's the perfect verb for it.
Right. Yes, the foundation. Yep. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks, guys.
Having some issues? Lauren will help you out with the assistance of our listeners. Let's do it. Get at Lauren.
It's the Y107 Morning Show. Our adder today for at Lauren. Unfortunately, her best friend passed away just 2 weeks ago, and she has become really close with her friend's male friend. They've been spending a lot of time together, kind of helping each other get through this. And she's starting to now feel some type of romantic feelings. And she's just not really sure if she should follow that or not. We've got Corinne on the phone in Jeff City. Corinne, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say to her, I'm very sorry. Grief is the worst thing you can get through in life. And that being said, I lost my fiance 11 years ago and only remarried just a couple years ago. It took me a long time. I know it's not the same situation, but I lost him. I lost my mom a year ago, and all I can say is that grief will make you do funny things because you will just do anything to make yourself feel better. And I'm not saying that the feelings aren't real for her, but maybe just, let them sit for 6 months, continue to hang out with him if that's what helps her and helps him, but don't jump into anything right away because she's still processing, especially if it's only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Give herself a little bit of time.
Yeah. Grief definitely does cloud judgment.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Well, and your comment, Corinne, of, you're searching for anything that feels better than this horrible loss, this hole in your heart, your mind, everything. You're so used to picking up the phone and calling that BFF and going, oh, my God, did you see? Did you do? Oh, let's go here. And that's not there.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to plug that with anything good.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why I think a lot of people end up drinking or turning to unhealthy things. And it's good that she's, talking to a friend, a mutual friend. But still, it's such a hard thing to get through in life. To me, it's the worst thing you can try and get through. And she just needs to give herself a little bit of time.
Yeah. And she needs that friend right now, the guy friend.
Yeah, I think if he's helping her get through it, then they should continue to hang out. Just, like I said, whatever grief you're going through, you got to focus on that and try and get through that, I think, before you try and move on to something else.
Having some issues? Lauren will help you out with the assistance of our listeners. Let's do it. Get at Lauren.
It is the Y107 Morning Show. Our at Lauren today comes from a listener whose best friend just died 2 weeks ago. She has been hanging out with this friend's male friend. They had never been romantic, but now she is starting to develop feelings for the guy, the friend. And she's wondering, what do I do? So we've heard some really, really great input on both sides. We got a text from Amber. She said, I would challenge her to ask herself if she felt like this at all before the loss, or does she think she feels this way because it's making her grief easier and not at all because she's actually attracted to him romantically.
And kind of going all the way back to Sam and Columbia, Samantha, our first caller. Yeah, same thing. And then what Corinne said, too. Mm-hmm. Are you trying to fill that loss, that pain, with whatever good you can get? And maybe there are some real legitimate feelings for this guy. And who knows? You could be your person. He could be your one, and you're getting through this together. Mm-hmm. But you got to be really careful.
So my thought on this is there's this phenomenon called crisis bonding, sometimes called trauma bonding too. Crisis bonding happens when a group of people experience something traumatic together. A lot of times it's like a natural disaster, okay? But I also think that this would classify as that. I think that they're going through something very traumatic together, and there's all kinds of hormones like adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin. They're all mix-matched in your head right now. And I just don't know that you're going to be able to think clearly when all of that is going on. A crisis bond, you feel intensely bonded to someone that you've gone through something with. And I think that that's what's happening here.
Right.
I'm not saying don't date him. If he's a great guy, then I think you should date him. Mm-hmm. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not 6 months to a year from now.
I was going to say, who knows what that magic... And I think that's the tough part because it's not the same... It's not cut and dry. It's not black and white.
No.
Sam mentioned that book, wait a year before you make any major decisions after a huge grief in your life. Well, is it a year? Is it 6 months? What,
My favorite thing to say, call your therapist. And if you're not in therapy right now, we need to talk. This is something that, yes, I'm so glad that she has a friend to go through this with.
Oh, yeah. That they have each other. That's big. You're not alone.
It is. But you need to talk to someone else, too. It is important. Like we said with Corinne, grief does weird things to your mind. Weird and sometimes very scary. Would it be the biggest mistake of her life to date this guy? Probably not. But it could potentially cause problems down the road.